Hi. I think, yes, you can sit just here. Welcome. Health is a real big subject about quantum computing, but you start before just with classical computing, finally, Jean-Philippe. But for start, Peter, how long have you been doing research at Jensen and R&D using quantum computing, and how did it start?
Sure. Thanks, everybody, and thanks for the organizers for hosting today. Really excited to be here and share with you some insights from our quantum journey over the last few years. We started probably 2 years ago, I would say. Really kind of fundamentally aimed at kind of leveraging technological advances both in software and hardware to accelerate early R&D and bring therapies to patients faster. Of which, of course, quantum computing kind of is a core, being the killer app for quantum chemistry, of course, and really wanted to kind of explore that and see how we could further accelerate our early R&D efforts.
Jean-Philippe, do you just tell us also how it started your project with Qubit Pharmaceuticals?
So, with the same feeling and ideas, so I'm a quantum chemist, and by definition, everything related to quantum mechanics should be better on quantum hardware. So a few years ago, we saw that it was becoming a reality. But you need to build platforms, you need to design algorithms. And so that was the initial idea, building a platform that will be able to have an advantage on classical HPC, for example.
Okay. Peter, what are you working at this moment in your labs?
Sure, yeah. So we were really kind of interested in two things, I guess. Really, our ability to model chemically modified proteins in particular. And so, I think there's certain things that advancements in AI/ML, like AlphaFold and others, are particularly good at, but there's also a lot of gaps, in particular modeling a lot of these chemically modified moieties on peptides. And so if you aim to design better drug-like compounds, you need these kinds of tools to really drive optimization of those compounds. And so for us, we did a case study early on leveraging the Amazon Bracket access to the D-Wave platform to fundamentally optimize what we formulated as a QUBO problem. And this is essentially how you fold a protein or peptide, where you place those rotamers, those atoms in three-dimensional space. And so we mathematically formulated this problem and then sought to really solve it and optimize it across a variety of hardware. And for us, it was the use case first, right? But also kind of how can we future-proof ourselves in terms of understanding the bounds of different hardware in terms of fitness of solution and cost or time of solution.
Okay. Do you think you can try other platforms, actually? Do you try other platforms?
For sure, we have, yes. We've tried many. I guess reformulating our QUBO problem really as an application for QAOA as well. So we've tried various gate-based compute platforms like IBM Algiers and others, as well as Fujitsu's Dynamic Annealer and a few others as well. And what we found was pretty interesting, both in terms of the fitness of the actual solution, as well as the cost and the compute time associated with that solution.
Thank you. Jean-Philippe, last year you had just raised a little over 16 million euros. Did that allow you to accelerate as you wanted? What progress have you made over the past 12 months?
So since our last fundraising, so the goal has been to deploy the platform. So we now have a full quantum computing platform called Hyperion. And Hyperion is first including new types of algorithms. So we are putting a lot of efforts into solving quantum chemistry. But not only, but quantum chemistry first. So the idea is to solve an approximation of the Schrödinger equation that will be closer to what we want, as exact as possible. So for that, we are using gate-based quantum computers. So we have been heavily working with Amazon Braket too. So we are then using generalist quantum computers. So we now have a full path towards getting better results than classical. So we have been dealing with noise, dealing with time to solution, because quantum computing is a complex thing. And we are getting there in terms of assembling all the ingredients that you need to solve really the exact equations. So that's one thing. We have been also working on analog computing. So we have a collaboration with Pascal. And so there we are dealing with other types of problems of interest for pharma that are more related to statistical mechanics. So quantum is not only for quantum mechanics, it's also for statistical mechanics. And so we build a use case with Pascal, and you will see this year that there are nice things to do in life sciences. And also, finally, we are building our own qubits in terms of classical emulation, because one key thing is that the qubit resources are limited. So when you want to develop heavily algorithms, you need to use a lot of qubit every day for everybody in the company. So we are developing a multi-layer emulator that will be able to emulate a lot of qubits in terms of error-free qubits.
How many qubits? Can you tell that?
So we want to go beyond 40 and increasing. So we are also interacting heavily with NVIDIA and Eviden, because we are also, so we don't sell software, we are users. Okay, so our goal is to find new drugs. So we are able to develop our own pipeline, but also to use the pipeline that are developed by other companies. And that's the key thing to increase our capability to develop new algorithms.
Thank you. What are the use cases that you see most accessible in the short term in the field of health? Peter?
Sure. So I think, for us, of course, I'm biased in the early R&D space, but I think, we've kind of fundamentally formatted the problem as an optimization problem that can certainly be leveraged across, I think, the product life cycle, in particular, in the commercial space in terms of how we optimize site selection and other applications. And so, it's not lost on us kind of these other downstream applications, and for that reason we seek to kind of really formulate these problems in a very more generalizable way that can be deployed across the enterprise.
Jean-Philippe, for you?
So for us, so we are doing simulations, and so they are getting more and more, they are using more and more artificial intelligence, but in order to fuel artificial intelligence, you need data, and our data are quantum. So what we are doing is clearly trying to replace the nature of the data that we are feeding to these neural networks and other methods by computing quantities that are more exact using quantum computing. So that's really the key effort. So more quantum computing will ultimately convert into better simulations, and better simulation will increase predictability. So we are a digital pharma, so our goal is to predict new drugs totally in silico. So everything is based on the data you have. So because of course you can get the data from experiments, and like everyone we have them, but as you know, they are always limited. So we can produce our own artificial data, but for that they need to be extremely accurate.
Okay. What are your next projects, Jean-Philippe?
So our next project is really to try to demonstrate an advantage. So because we are at a stage now where we can compute things that were already available in the classical world. So that's the first step. That means that the technology is working. We can achieve things maybe with some advantage in terms of energy, but not yet in terms of precision on the level of accuracy. The incoming, let's say, 18 months are about getting at least a first level of advantage. So everybody's talking about quantum supremacy, but quantum supremacy is something very difficult in quantum mechanics. But you have various level of practical advantages. So you can demonstrate that one algorithm that is doable on a very large HPC facility will be possible on a small quantum computer. So that's where we are going. I'm really optimistic about that. And also about the fact that even if you can demonstrate that with a quantum computer, the large-scale quantum emulators will also be able to do it. So there are various possibilities like to use quantum advantages, I think, in coming years.
And Peter, for you, what are the next steps?
Yeah, I mean, I'm personally pretty bullish on applications for quantum computing. I think we're living in a very transformative time in which these advancements in hardware are really poised to fundamentally disrupt the paradigm of drug discovery and enable us to bring these therapeutics to patients much faster. And so, in that regard, we're working to kind of scale and build out this application in particular for solving this NP-hard problem as we kind of design drugs, and really find that true global optimum to really optimize kind of targets therapeutic specificity as well as safety and efficacy. And so, I think across the board, these can be applied to not only proteins and peptides certainly, but also to other chemically modified therapeutics such as RNA and others, and certainly also actively exploring applications of accelerated MD and QML applications as well.
Okay. A last question. Do you think it's time to accelerate about the health field for other company? You are start really early. Do you think this is the moment to go in quantum for everyone? And there is so many use cases to do that?
I think so. I mean, I think folks, are a little bit trepidatious about it, particularly in the pharma space. But I think a lot of the early work has really demonstrated some of these advantages of quantum computing and quantum hardware, and really opened the door, I think, to broader deployment and application in this space. And so, I think a big part of that is demonstrating the value first and foremost, but also kind of building that workforce and community across the industry as well, for folks to kind of come together and share their findings and get more involved in this space as it continues to grow.
Jean-Philippe, do you want to comment that?
Yeah, so it's really natural to have a transition from classical to quantum. So everything that is linked to simulation is computed using algorithms that have full quantum computing equivalence. So at some point we'll see the transition. So it's now a question on the availability of the platforms. So the software, they started first. This year is a good year for hardware because you see analog computing with rising to 1,000 qubits. You see IBM getting hundreds of qubits, so still with some noise, but the noise is also part of the algorithmic. So algorithms are starting to be noise resistant. So I think we are about to see the start of the crossing of the curves. And if the software are there and enough qubits are available, I think it will be a big start for health. Because that's totally, health is really a place where quantum computing will provide different things, knowing that artificial intelligence won't solve everything. So we see the limits. And by combining things, we have a chance to achieve something larger with these technologies.
And the last question, is it difficult to find talents in your field, in health and quantum?
Yes.
I agree with that sentiment. I mean, I think, especially at the intersection of health and life sciences and kind of quantum computing or quantum physics or physics in general is a very niche field. And so, I think it's our responsibility to kind of, to bring this talent up and kind of also foster a community where we can grow and develop these talents. And so, you know, in that regard, I think certainly we're interested, you know, in across the life science industry in kind of bringing talent from the computational sciences space to the biology. I think I'd much rather teach the biology than teach the physics and the math and engineering side of it. So I'm seeing more and more of these kinds of multilingual talent entering the field, but certainly I think we need a lot more.
One issue is that you need people with certain skills. So at the university, these people are a little bit drying out because they are moving to companies. Various companies are moving abroad. So there is really the need to organize, I would say, the university towards producing more people that are able to use these technologies. Because you cannot, so if you are a user and you have a good software, it will be transparent. But if you are a developer, you really need people understanding and being able to program. And we are still at a level where we will need to adapt to the hardware. So these people are not everywhere. So we need to help the ecosystem to produce more young people that will understand what is at stake and why we need to develop these technologies.
Thank you very much. I think we can talk about this subject later with another roundtable. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.